Today on Commander Replay, we check out Heliod Suncrowned ×3. And we ask the question, who gets to play Heliod Suncrowned and who doesn't? Find out next on Commander Replay. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. We have one new Patreon supporter in Feldajank. Feldajank, you are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. And be sure to use the TCG affiliate player link as it helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Heliod Suncrowned today, and we've got a fun little video because there are 3 Heliod Suncrownds in this game, and we've got Tyrant of Ruin piloting Virtus the Veiled and Gorm the Great. I don't actually know if he has a mono-white deck. It wasn't really planned this way. It was just kind of like, hey, I'm playing Heliod, bring a deck, and then Jazz Fox also had one, and then turns out Champion of Thunes also got one as well. So there's a pretty high likelihood that we're going to see some Heliod Suncrowned action today, as long as Tyrant doesn't just run away with the game. So let's take a look at this opening hand. I think it looks pretty good. We've got Ramp. We've got some late game card draw with this Arch of Oriska, so that feels pretty good. We got a little late game punch with Elish Norn. Let's go ahead and keep. Maybe a little bit slow in that there's like no Soul Sisters in this hand, but right now this deck, I've got it a little bit land light. It's definitely a little bit risky. That's a thing that I'm going to need to change. There's just so many cards I'm trying to try out because this is my first game with the deck. I've only seen it one other time so far, so really just kind of getting acquainted with it and seeing how everything feels. So, you know, when that's the case, there's always a bunch of cards you're trying to just like jam in there, and it's going to have a few less lands than I would really prefer, and also a few less Gift of Estate type of effects, which I really like when I'm playing mono white. So with all that being the case, the fact that there's a Sword of the Animist and an Arch in the opener means that we can actually like generate some amount of advantage, which I like. So taking a look at Heliod Suncrowned, it's 2 and a white for a 5/5. Indestructible, is not a creature if your devotion to white is less than 5. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. And you can pay 1 and a white. Another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. So yeah, Heliod is a much needed life gain payoff for mono white. One that you now have access to out of the command zone, which there hasn't been a whole lot of up to this point. And the fact that it's indestructible, it's 3 mana, you get it into play nice and quick, all seem like really good things. There is the combo with Walking Ballista, which I do have in this deck. We're not going for fast Walking Ballista. This is not a CDH build. It's just in there as a finisher. You know, if it comes up, it comes up, and maybe we can win the game that way. But right now, like I said, just trying to get a feel on everything, see what's feeling good, see if Walking Ballista may be a little bit of overkill, who knows. Tyrant's got himself a turn 1 Dark Ritual, and gonna play himself a turn 1 Virtus the Veiled. It's a 1/1 Death Touch. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life, rounded up. Well, that seems awful. He's gonna partner. We'll take a partner, why not? Let's get a little shuffle. We do not have a turn 1 Swords or Path. We'll see if anyone does, and if they are interested in not getting hit by the Virtus. We draw a Pearl Medallion, not the worst thing. Definitely gonna be helpful, I think. Artifacts or enchantments? Nope, it's a creature. Find out who's got some interaction. I guess the good news is that we are a life gain deck, so even if you do take a hit from Virtus, should be able to gain that life back. Probably actually a reasonably good meta call for a game with 3 Heliods. There's a Dolmen Gate. I need to get one of those for my Najeela deck. Pretty interesting little card. It's basically half of Iroas, but it is 2 mana cheaper, and that's a pretty big deal. All right, so Tyrant going to come our way right off the bat. Cool. I think this is going to put us down to 20. Down to 19. Awesome. Brings it back to our turn. There's another Plains. Play a Plains. Play a Pearl Medallion. I wouldn't say it's good news, but in not terrible news, you know, every time you have someone's life, it's less effective each time, so the next one will put us down around like 10, which is like still not great. And Jazz Fox gonna cast their Heliod. Yep. Here comes an Arcane Signet for the Virtus opponent. Gonna send this one over to Jazz Fox. Yeah, you kind of get the most bang for your buck by hitting each opponent. You know, and theoretically, we'll all start gaining life at some point and offsetting the half life loss right there. Oh, here comes Path to Exile. So Virtus down. So that threat has been eliminated and should put this game reasonably back under control. That's gonna bring it back to our turn. That's a Ranger of Eos. So let's I'm expecting any wheels this game. No, it doesn't look like it. Doesn't seem like a high likelihood of a wheel kind of game. So let's play a plains. Let's get the... Maybe we just get our commander? Leaves us with one floating. Yeah, let's just do that. I mean, we could get... we could get Ranger Vios right here. Let's get the Ranger Vios. Why not? Or do we sequence it? Let's get our commander. I know it's more mana efficient to play the Ranger right here. But next turn we can cast the Ranger and should be able to get both Soul Sisters into play. So, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. This deck list was created by GVR, a Patreon supporter of mine. I've made about 5 or 6 changes from his original deck list, just a couple things that didn't feel like they would be the best to me that I wanted to switch out. One of the things I added in was this Ranger Vios. You know, we're essentially playing a Soul Sisters deck. We want to give ourselves maximum opportunities for the Soul Sisters. There's an Umezawa's Jit for the for Champion of Thune, so... Umezawa's really good at shooting down Soul Sisters, at least until you get some life gain going, so that's a thing. Here comes an Archon of Sun's Grace, 3/4 flying lifelink, Pegasi you control have lifelink, Constellation, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature with flying. Well, doesn't seem awful. Pretty cool little card, new one out of Theros Beyond Death. Definitely a lot of abilities on there. Flying and lifelink by itself for 4 mana, not terrible. The fact that it can create more tokens as you do other things, namely play enchantments, seems very reasonable. Yeah. I don't believe that's in our deck. Potentially one to consider. And Tyrant plays a Raving Dead. It's a special one. What was that? Commander 15? No. 14. I think it's Commander 14. 2/6 Death Touch. At the beginning of combat on your turns, choose an opponent at random. Raving Dead attacks that player. If able, when it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded down. Ooh, another one of those effects. Spicy. There's a Together Forever as it comes back to our turn. Let's play a Plains. Let's play Ranger. Oh, we can get Walking Ballista with Ranger, can't we? We can. That seems like it could be a little dirty. Huh. What do we need to make that combo work? We have to give it lifelink. I'm going to skip that combo. I know that we could just like go for it and try to end the game, but seems a little cheap. I did tell opponents to bring decks that are like 6.5, so, you know. Let's get our Soul Sisters. Let's play a Soul Sister. Next turn, we're probably looking at something like Soul Sister, Sword of the Animist. Seems like a reasonable play. Together Forever may also be a thing to think about. That's a Luminarch Ascension for Champion of Thune. That's a good one. Righteous Cause coming down for Jazz Fox. That is a card that is in our deck. And that creates a Pegasus for opponent, and that'll trigger our Soul Warden, which will trigger our Heliod. Let's get the Soul Warden pumped up, try to get it out of easy Umezawa's range. It does gain us a life back, so, you know, hopefully these things will stick around and we can get ourselves back to a nice healthy life total. And Jazz Fox is going to send the Archon over to Tyrant, and that'll gain them some life with the Righteous Cause. And they'll put a counter on their Pegasus. Be a lot of counters floating around this game. So we will take a look at what our opponents are playing. As I mentioned in the open, 3 players playing Heliod Sun's Champion. That'd be Champion of Thune, ourselves, and Jazz Fox. Champion seems like he might be on... Champion's missing land drops like crazy. I just realized that. That is unfortunate for him. Jazz Fox seems like they might be on a more enchantment-based plan, which, you know, makes sense when you're talking about devotion. So we'll see. We'll see what they've got going. And then finally, we've got Tyrant of Ruin piloting Virtus the Veiled and Gorm the Great, as we talked about. Looks like they're doing a half your life total kind of thing. Seems a little bit nasty. But probably the right call for a game like this, where everyone's looking to gain tons and tons of life. Does lay down a Sword of Feast and Famine. That is a very good card. We'll want to get some chump blockers in the way for that Feast and Famine, because that thing can do some work. At random, they have chosen that they must attack us. Do we want to lose half our life total again? I don't really want to lose either of these creatures, to be completely honest. I think I'm just going to take it, and I'm going to trust in the life gain. I'm just going to believe that it's going to happen. Hope we don't get board wipe and get crushed. Try to get the Together Forever in this turn. That way we can protect some things. There's our Righteous Cause. What was the original printing of that? Was that Onslaught? And got reprinted in... Is that the original Commander? Looks like the original Commander. There's now so many Commander products that I've forgotten what all the symbols look like. They all kind of blend together now. Anyway, let's get the Arch into play. Let's get Soul's Attendant into play. That'll trigger our Soul Warden. That'll trigger Heliod. Let's put a counter on the Ranger. Let's get Together Forever. Nope, that's double white, isn't it? And we can support 2. Let's get the Soul's Attendant, and I think we're gonna go with Heliod. Yeah, let's get a little damage going on him. Now a 6/6, and we're gonna swing over to Tyrant of Ruin since he's gotten us for 30, and it's turn 5. Opponent's Righteous Cause will trigger. That'll trigger their Heliod. Flying a bit of an issue for us right now, I think. Ooh, actually, yeah. If opponent pumps up either of their creatures, they could have lethal on us in the air. Maybe we should have attacked with something else and gave ourselves lifelink? Whoops. Hopefully Champion Thune plays some creatures and brings our life total up just a bit. Takes us out of the danger zone. Gets a counter on the Luminarch Ascension. It's up to 3. Should have thought about that. Whoops. Champ said he's holding a Knight of the White Orchid. Yeah, Myriad Landscape being a little bit difficult right there. If someone plays a board wipe, he could potentially get caught up. But without a board wipe, it might be kind of tough. Because Knight of the White Orchid, that gets him another land, and then if he cracks Myriad Landscape, that's another additional land. Puts him back up to 4. Plus, he would need the land to do all that, so we'd be on like 5 lands, and yeah, it'd be relatively caught up if all that happened. That's it Together Forever for Jazz Fox, yeah. Got a lot of the same cards going. Ooh, that's going to trigger the Archon, and that'll trigger Together Forever. I think they could have lethal on us if they want to. I don't know that they'll take us out this early, but they will make a Pegasus right here, which will gain us 2 life, and that'll be nice. So they get the Pegasus. That triggers both of our Soul Sisters, and those will trigger Heliod. I think I'm going to pump up the Ranger of Eos and try to get it in range of killing the Raving Dead should it come back our way. I guess he can put a Feast and Famine on it. Maybe that's not the best way to go. So we've got a 6/5 Ranger of Eos. And I think we're going to die right here. Opponent's going to gain some life. They're coming in for 10. Let's see where they point the Heliod. Cool. Going to pump the Flyers, and we might just be dead. Probably should have blocked with the Ranger last turn. Yeah, this is... looks like it's going to be lethal unless we can figure something out here. We are a white short of that. Yep, and we just go down. We go to 0. So maybe the Archon is pretty good. I think evasion is one of the keys to this deck, honestly. So the first game that I saw with Heliod, if everything's on the ground, people are going to chump block all day. If you start giving yourself evasion, probably flying, that's going to be pretty strong. Here's an Archfiend of Despair for Tyrant. Your opponents can't gain life. Well, that seems bad. At the beginning of each 10 step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they've lost this turn. Yeah, maybe we should have attacked with something else last turn and life-linked it and gained all that life back. That would have been a good idea, I think. Crap. I didn't really realize, more or less, until we passed the turn that, like, opponent would have lethal on us, so... Oops. Getting a generous gift on the Archfiend of Despair. I think Jazz Fox has a very good likelihood of winning this game. They're going to get a chance to untap. They've got mana. Opponent's swinging in with the Raving Dead. They're going to gain some life. They might lose half their life right here. They can block if they want to. But all their stuff has lifelink, so like even if they just take the hit, they can just gain it right back. I think the fact that the Archon makes the tokens have lifelink probably makes it a card that you want to be running in this deck. I really like what I'm seeing out of Jazz Fox with this thing right now. They haven't played like that many cards. They've played Heliod, the Archon, and 2 enchantments, and that's been good enough. Champion Thune's going to make a Luminarch Ascension token at the end step. So makes himself a token at the end step, then equips an Umezawa's Jit to it. Heliod stuff growing out of range of the Jit. But they're just going to leave it back as a blocker. It's about all you really can do when you're stuck on lands like that. Cracks the Myriad Landscape. Big old attack into Tyrant of Ruin. They take a hit for 19, go down to 11. No one plays a board wipe. This is going to be a quick game. And gaining more life. Here comes a Reclamation Sage. A lot of good targets right now. I'm probably going for this Righteous Cause, but Luminarch Ascension and Umezawa's are also fine targets. They're going to go for the Righteous Cause. But that's okay. It's already done its damage. Gorm the Great coming into play. Must be blocked if able, and must be blocked by 2 or more creatures if able. Feast and Famine onto the Raving Dead. Swinging the Raving Dead into Champion of Thune. Probably throw the Angel in front, get some counters on the Jit. Champion finally hits a land. It's a colorless land, but it does allow him to crack the Myriad Landscape. But Jazz Fox can really do a lot of damage this turn. things are going to get pretty wild. I think Tyrant's probably getting eliminated. And Champ's going to lose a good portion of his life. Here comes Linden. Oh, yeah. And a Mindless Automaton, all cards in our deck. So they're going to do some attacking, and Linden's going to trigger 4 times. So that's going to be Xaxes on Tyrant. Tyrant goes down. Champion's at 11. Ooh. Heliod triggers 3 more times. Champion's going to need exactly a board wipe right here. They are tapped out, so they can get past the Together Forever this turn. Oop, there's a mana left over, so they can make 1 creature survive, which... it is now much more difficult to survive. That's actually a really big deal. That's a Shadow Spear. I think that's going to be a little bit too late. Hey, they're going to Teferi's Protect. Okay. Buy themselves another turn. In their case, I think instead of the Shadow Spear... Should have gone Knight of the White Orchid right there, get that extra land. Also, just gives you a creature in play, which you can equip the Shadow Spear and the Jit too. And if Heliod really catches on as a commander, and you're seeing this Together Forever bit a lot, Hallowed Burial is a card that you're going to want to run if you're in an opposing white deck you're not running Heliod. Opponent's still going to attack because they do get the Linden triggers on combat. Yep. Just keep gaining that life. Final Judgment, also good against Together Forever type stuff. But again, if you're running it, since we're all playing the same deck, like... if it's good against the other Heliod stuff, it's probably also bad for your stuff. So, yeah, it's a tricky place to be. A Legion's Landing flips over. And they get a couple counters on the Mindless Automaton, drawing some cards. Looks like Mindless Automaton is a solid card for this deck. Triskelion. Uh-oh. If you give Triskelion lifelink, what happens? Is that infinite? It does a damage. You gain a life. You put a counter back on it? Is that the game? Champ said he has a Fumigate. It's not going to do it. It's also a mana short. And looks like the Triskelion. I think that is infinite. Again, a Heliod's Intervention on the Mindless Automaton and the Triskelion, but they can just do all this in response. Lifelink on the Triskelion. And they scoop it up right there. That's the game. So, what do I think? Obviously, we got taken out super early. Didn't really get to do that much. We needed one more turn. The turn order bit us just a little bit right there, I think. When you're further back in the turn order, having some removal is really where you want to be, and we did not. We had no removal, so I don't think that was a problem with the deck necessarily. I think it was just, bad luck. It's not often that you run into Virtus the Veiled and Gorm the Great, and have multiple cards that say lose half your life. But that will happen at least occasionally, so that's what happened to us today. Can't do much about that. As far as what I saw, I thought our deck played decently well, other than just not having removal, and we could have blocked. We could have blocked somewhere and saved ourselves a bunch of life and given ourselves a better chance. Now, going against Jazz Fox's army, I don't know if that was going to pan out for us at any point. But the Archon really did a lot of work for them, so that's one to think about. Archon of Sun's Grace, definitely want to get that in there. What else did I saw? I saw the Legion's Landing actually looks pretty solid because you're going to get a creature with lifelink, good news, and then eventually that's going to turn into ramp, and all for 1 mana, that seems very solid, plus the fact that it'll be devotion for a decent portion of the game. And obviously in the late game you can make more tokens if you need to, but I do like the fact that it's a 1 mana investment and you got lifelink, so that seems like it should be pretty solid. Taking a look at Ashes of the Abhorrent, I don't know. It seems fine. Like, against certain decks, it's probably good, but how many times people actually cast things from the graveyard? I think it's less common than people just playing, like, Eternal Witness and getting it back. It will definitely shut off some things some of the time. Whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life. Could be good against certain decks. I don't know. Seems like it might be just a touch underwhelming. At least in a broad sense. If you have a specific meta you're trying to play against, you know what's coming, then I think it could be decent, but... So definitely want to add Triskelion. That's a nice finisher. I added Victory's Herald to the deck. That seems like it should be pretty good in this deck. More lifelink and flying is a really big deal. If your stuff is big, the biggest problem you're going to run into is people chump blocking. So if you remove their ability to chump block with ground tokens, I think Victory's Herald is going to be very solid. True Conviction is a card that I think we definitely want in this deck. The real question is, what do we cut? The answer is, I don't know. Avacyn's cool, and Avacyn's cool, Avacyn's great. Avacyn is very expensive to get into play. So let's get rid of that. Linden looks solid when we saw it from our opponent. Righteous Cause seemed very reasonable from our opponent. Yeah, it's really the question of what do you take out. Abzan Falconer, I think, is going to be very good in this deck. Again, evasion, I think, is really the key, with all your creatures getting big pretty quickly. I'm just noticing this. Is Shadow Spear like Heliod's Spear, but all evil and stuff? Is that what's going on there? Someone clue me in on the story. I have no idea what's been going on in the Magic story since a very long time ago. Yeah, I still don't know what to take out. One thing I'd like to see is like also just Thaumatic Compass. Like, we died to attackers, which shouldn't really happen. Like, you know, we should be able to block better and that sort of stuff. Thaumatic Compass would have been very helpful. It's just a good card. Yeah, it's going to be a tough call, kind of refining this. Maybe God Eternal Oketra isn't quite right for this deck. It does have 30 creatures, which is a solid amount, but... And God Eternal Oketra does do cool things, like it's not a bad card. I don't know. It's just a good card on its own, but it doesn't have a lot of synergy, so it's a matter of balancing out how much synergy versus how many good stuff type things do you want. I did add an Endless Atlas to the deck. It's mediocre card draw. It just makes it so you can look at more cards. And, you know, the ability to look at more cards, especially without having to rely on your creatures, is always going to be good. I don't know, maybe this Answered Prayers. Answered Prayers seems a little bit underwhelming. Yeah, I think I'm going to get rid of that. Brima is good for making tokens. No lifelink, though. But a solid card in general. I'm going to cut Brimaz. Like, I like Brimaz, and I think Brimaz is a super cool card, but it just doesn't feel like it's fitting into the deck super well right now. And one of the problems with Brimaz, too, is that people just block the token. And then the token dies, so you never really get the token all that often. Like, if you just slam this Regna late in the game and just hold on to Regna for a couple turns, you're going to gain a bunch of life, and life's going to be good. So that's a thing. So, yeah, I don't know. As cool as Brimaz is, maybe just not quite what we're looking for. It does make a lot of 6-drops in the deck, which isn't the best, but I did add in the... we do have the Pearl Medallion. We do have Oketra's Monument. That helps a little bit. I'd probably still want to see like another piece of... Still want to see more mana production in the deck, honestly. Knight of the White Orchid's okay. Like, it's not a bad card. The fact that First Strike is cool. First Strike means that it will be killing things, but it still just gets chump blocked, even when it does get big. I don't know. So I guess that that does put us at 100 cards. If I were gonna fix this up more, ideally I'd cut like maybe 1 6-drop. I think that would feel a lot better. When you still need to get the land count up a little bit too. So there's still some mana issues with this deck, and I don't know, maybe we need recursion somewhere. We've got this Ameria Shepherd. Maybe we look to get recursion elsewhere. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of this God Eternal Oketra. It's a good card, but right now I'm feeling the number of 5, 6, and 7-drops we have is rather high, so I'm just feeling a bit clunky right there. Let's get a land into this deck since we are at 35. So, add a land. Brings us to 36. Still ideally be like 1 higher. It's a matter of which 6-drop do you want to cut. You know, Elspeth is just good. Problem with Elspeth in this deck, your stuff gets big, so like Elspeth might be blowing up a lot of your things often. So yeah, maybe we can get rid of Elspeth. Maybe we can get rid of that. It's not going to be the one-sided board wipe that it can be a lot of the time. Now, it's still just a great card, but because your stuff's going to be big, I think that board wipe mode is going to hit your things often. And, you know, maybe it's a case of if you're ahead, you don't use it, but I don't know. Do need to cut a 6-drop, get another land. That puts us to 37. I feel a little bit more comfortable with that. Removed some of the clunk. Yeah, we got about an average number of 4-drops and 5-drops. You know, a bad hand could still get clunky, but as long as you have some kind of ramp that sticks, you should be all right. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this look at Heliod. We didn't get to do so much ourselves, but we did get to see our opponent play a lot of Heliod. And hope you enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.